I've been to 40 countries. I've seen the Eiffel Tower, walked the Great Wall, and gotten lost in Tokyo's neon streets. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what I discovered in Malaysia. And what blew my mind wasn't a building, or a beach, or some tourist trap. It was something so unexpected that it completely changed how I see the world. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why Malaysia might just be the most misunderstood country on earth. Let me start with this. Imagine a place where you can have breakfast in 3 different languages, walk past a 400-year-old mosque, a Chinese temple, and a Hindu shrine all within 5 minutes, then end your day eating food that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. Sounds impossible, right? That's Malaysia. But here's where it gets interesting. Most travelers I meet have Malaysia at the bottom of their Asia bucket list. They'll spend weeks planning trips to Thailand, Japan, or Vietnam, but Malaysia. It's usually just a stopover on the way to somewhere better. And that's exactly what I thought too, until I spent 3 weeks there and discovered something that's been hiding in plain sight. What I'm about to share with you isn't just about travel. It's about a social experiment that's been running for over 60 years, and honestly, the fact that more people don't talk about this is crazy to me. Because while the rest of the world is struggling with division, Malaysia figured something out. And no, I'm not exaggerating. But before I reveal what that is, let me take you back to where this all started. I landed in Kuala Lumpur on a Tuesday afternoon. The moment I stepped out of the airport, I noticed something odd. The signs weren't just in English, they were in 4 different scripts. Malay, English, Chinese characters, and Tamil. I remember thinking, okay, this is just airport stuff. They're trying to be tourist friendly. I was so wrong. My Grab driver, that's Southeast Asia's Uber, was a guy named Raj. Indian Malaysian. Within 5 minutes of the ride, he's telling me about how he grew up speaking Tamil at home, Malay at school, and Cantonese with his neighbors. He switched between these languages mid-sentence like it was nothing. I speak 3 languages, and even I can't do that. Then he said something that stuck with me. In Malaysia, we don't just tolerate each other. We celebrate each other. But you won't see that in the guidebooks. That sentence became my obsession for the next 3 weeks. I checked into my hotel in Bukit Bintang, dropped my bags, and immediately went exploring. And this is where the real story begins, because within 30 minutes of walking, I witnessed something that would be impossible in 95% of the countries I've visited. Picture this, I'm walking down Jalan Masjid India, which is this vibrant street full of fabric shops and street food. On my right, there's a mosque, the Masjid India, built in the 1960s. Beautiful architecture, people in prayer. The call to prayer echoing through the streets. I keep walking. Literally 200 meters away, I see a massive Chinese temple. Red lanterns everywhere, incense burning, people making offerings. The Guan Dai Temple, dedicated to a Chinese deity. Another 300 meters. A Hindu temple. The Sri Mahamariamman Temple, the oldest Hindu temple in Kuala Lumpur, built in 1873. Ornate Gopuram, colorful statues of deities, the smell of jasmine and incense. And here's the kicker, they weren't just near each other. They were active. All at the same time. And nobody thought it was strange. Now, I've been to countries where you see different religions coexisting. But this felt different. This wasn't tolerance. This was something deeper. And I needed to understand what. The next day, I met up with a local food blogger named Sarah. Chinese Malaysian. I told her I wanted to understand Malaysian food, and she laughed. She said, "You can't understand Malaysian food without understanding Malaysian history. And you can't understand that without eating. So let's eat." We started at a kopitiam, a traditional Malaysian coffee shop. But here's where things got interesting. We ordered roti canai, which is an Indian flatbread, served with curry. But it was invented in Malaysia. Then we had char kway teow, a Chinese stir-fried noodle dish, but the Malaysian version has a twist. It includes sambal, a Malay chili paste. Then came nasi lemak for lunch. This is Malaysia's national dish. Coconut rice, sambal, fried anchovies, peanuts, cucumber, and egg. It's Malay in origin, but every community in Malaysia has made it their own. Chinese Malaysians add pork curry. Indian Malaysians add chicken rendang. It's the same dish, but it's different everywhere. Sarah looked at me and said, "See what's happening here? We didn't just live next to each other. We borrowed from each other. We created together. Our food is proof that it works." And that's when it clicked. But I still didn't understand how this happened. Because when you look at Malaysia's history, this shouldn't work. Here's what they don't teach you in school. Malaysia is one of the most ethnically diverse countries in the world. About 60% Malay, 23% Chinese, 7% Indian, and the rest indigenous groups and others. 3 major religions, Islam, Buddhism, and Hinduism, plus Christianity and traditional beliefs. Now, this diversity didn't happen naturally. It happened because of colonialism. The British brought in Chinese workers for tin mining and Indian workers for rubber plantations in the 19th and early 20th centuries. The indigenous Malays were already there for thousands of years. So by the time Malaysia gained independence in 1957, you had 3 major ethnic groups who spoke different languages, practiced different religions, had different customs, and honestly, didn't have much reason to trust each other. Every political scientist looking at this situation would predict conflict. Segregation at best, civil war at worst. And in fact, in 1969, Malaysia did experience racial riots. People died. The country was on the brink. But here's what happened next, and this is the crazy part. Instead of doubling down on division, Malaysia made a choice. They decided to build a system where everyone had a stake in the country's success. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. There were policies that favored certain groups, and there's still debate about that today. But they did something most countries don't do. They made diversity a feature, not a bug. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. I visited a neighborhood called Petaling Street in Chinatown. I'm walking through, and I see Chinese shops selling prayer items. Right next door, a shop owned by an Indian Muslim family selling kebabs. Across the street, a Malay woman running a batik shop. I asked the kebab shop owner, a guy named Farouk, does it ever get weird, being Muslim in the middle of Chinatown? He laughed and said, weird. My best customers are Chinese. During Chinese New Year, I make special halal versions of Chinese dishes for my Muslim Chinese friends. During Ramadan, my Chinese neighbors bring me food for iftar. That's not weird. That's just Malaysia. Then I went to a school. A government school in Kuala Lumpur. And this is where I saw the social experiment in real time. Malaysian students learn Malay as the national language. But Chinese Malaysians can attend Chinese medium schools where they learn in Mandarin. Indian Malaysians can attend Tamil schools. The country literally has 3 parallel school systems to preserve each community's culture and language. Critics say this creates division. But here's what I saw. At recess, kids from different backgrounds playing together, mixing languages, sharing food. One kid would speak Malay, another would respond in English, a third would throw in some Hokkien. And they all understood each other. A teacher named Mrs. Tan told me, we don't teach them to tolerate differences. We teach them that differences are normal. There's a big difference. But here's where this story takes another turn. Because this isn't just about social harmony, it's about success. Malaysia has the third highest GDP per capita in Southeast Asia, behind only Singapore and Brunei. In the last 50 years, they've gone from a poor, agricultural economy to a high-tech manufacturing hub. They're one of the world's largest producers of semiconductors. They have a thriving digital economy. And here's the connection nobody talks about: their diversity is a competitive advantage. I met with an entrepreneur named Daniel Chen in Penang, Malaysia's tech hub. He runs a startup that connects Malaysian businesses with markets in China, India, and the Middle East. He told me, "I have business partners who are Chinese Malaysian, Indian Malaysian, and Malay. When we enter a new market, one of us already understands that culture, speaks that language, has those connections. Our diversity isn't a problem to solve, it's our secret weapon." Think about it. While other countries are trying to figure out how to work across cultures, Malaysia has been doing it for generations. Their workforce is naturally multilingual and multicultural. They don't need diversity training, they grew up in diversity. Now let me blow your mind with this. Malaysia has more public holidays than almost any country in the world. And here's why: they celebrate everyone's holidays. There's Hari Raya for Muslims, the end of Ramadan. Chinese New Year for the Chinese community. Deepavali for Hindus. Christmas for Christians. Plus national holidays like Independence Day. But here's the crazy part. These aren't just holidays for those specific communities. Everyone celebrates. I was there during Chinese New Year. I visited a Malay family's home for an open house, a Malaysian tradition where people open their homes to friends and neighbors of all backgrounds. The family was Muslim, but they were hosting friends who were Chinese, Indian, Christian, Buddhist. The mom, Aisha, told me, during Chinese New Year, we visit our Chinese friends. During Hari Raya, they visit us. During Deepavali, we all go to our Indian friends' homes. We've been doing this for 40 years. These aren't just our neighbors, they're family. And this isn't unique to her family. This is normal in Malaysia. The cultural calendar forces people to engage with each other, to learn about each other, to celebrate together. Let's talk about something most people completely miss about Malaysia: the language situation is insane. The average Malaysian speaks at least 3 languages fluently. Malay is the national language. English is widely spoken because of the British colonial history and it's the language of business. Then most people speak their mother tongue, Mandarin, Tamil, or various Chinese dialects. But it goes deeper than that. Malaysians have created their own language hybrid called Manglish, Malaysian English. It's English mixed with Malay, Chinese, and Tamil words, plus its own unique grammar. I'll never forget sitting in a mamak, a Malaysian Indian restaurant, and hearing a conversation that went like this: "Wei, you want to makan or not?" Wei is Chinese, makan is Malay for eat. Can la, but don't eat too much, later stomach pain how. La is a Malay particle, used for emphasis. This code switching isn't confusion. It's creativity. It's proof that these cultures aren't just coexisting, they're creating something new together. Now, I need to be real with you. Malaysia isn't perfect. Not even close. There's still a policy called the Bumiputera policy that gives special privileges to ethnic Malays and indigenous people. It was created to address economic inequality, but critics say it creates resentment and isn't merit-based. There are still racial and religious tensions. Political parties are often organized along ethnic lines. Not everyone feels the multicultural harmony equally. I talked to a Chinese Malaysian lawyer named James who said, "Look, we've made it work, but it's not always easy. Sometimes I feel like a second-class citizen in my own country." But then I look at other countries tearing themselves apart over far less diversity, and I think, okay, we're doing something right. That's the thing about Malaysia. It's not a utopia. It's a work in progress. But the fact that it works at all, given the odds against it, is remarkable. So here's what Malaysia taught me, and this is the part that's going to stick with me forever. The world right now is obsessed with the idea that diversity inevitably leads to conflict. That people from different backgrounds can't truly get along. That we need to build walls, literal and figurative, to keep the peace. Malaysia proves that's not true. But it also proves something else. Diversity doesn't create harmony automatically. You have to build it. You have to design systems that give everyone a stake. You have to create spaces, physical and cultural, where mixing happens naturally. Malaysia created shared national identity while allowing communities to keep their distinct cultures. They didn't force assimilation. They didn't create a melting pot where everything blends into sameness. They created a mosaic. And that mosaic is stronger than any single piece. I think about Mrs. Tan's words, we don't teach them to tolerate differences, we teach them that differences are normal. What if every country thought that way? So here's the crazy thing Malaysia did. The thing I promised I'd tell you at the beginning. They took what should have been their greatest weakness, extreme ethnic and religious diversity in a post-colonial society, and turned it into their greatest strength. Not by pretending the differences don't exist. Not by forcing everyone to be the same. But by making space for everyone to be different, together. When I think about the 40 countries I've visited, I think about all the beautiful things I've seen. Ancient temples. Stunning landscapes. Incredible cities. But Malaysia showed me something more valuable than any of that. It showed me that the thing we think will divide us, our differences, can actually be the thing that makes us stronger. If we're willing to do the work. And that's not something you can see from a plane window or a tour bus. You have to walk the streets. Eat the food. Talk to the people. Sit in their homes. Listen to their stories. Malaysia isn't on most people's travel bucket lists. It's not as famous as Thailand, as exotic as Bali, or as futuristic as Singapore. But maybe that's why it's so important. Because the lesson Malaysia teaches isn't about being the most beautiful or the most modern. It's about being human. About finding ways to build something together, even when everything says you shouldn't be able to. I came to Malaysia expecting temples and beaches. I left with a completely different understanding of what's possible when people decide that their differences are worth celebrating, not erasing. So here's my challenge to you. If you're planning your next trip, don't just go somewhere beautiful. Go somewhere that will change how you see the world. Go to Malaysia. Walk through those neighborhoods where mosques and temples share the same street. Eat food that exists nowhere else because it's a fusion of 3 different cultures. Have conversations with people who switch between 4 languages in one sentence. And when you come back, ask yourself, what if we tried this at home? If this video changed how you think about diversity, travel, or what's possible when different people come together, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more travel stories that go deeper than the surface. And drop a comment telling me, what's the most unexpected thing you've learned from traveling? Malaysia taught me that the world doesn't have to be divided. We just have to be willing to see it differently. I'll see you in the next one.